Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Hamduhu wasta'inuhu wastadihi wastaghfiruhu wa uminu bihi jalla wa ala wa la akfuruhu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. I came across this nice card here, We the People, the American flag in the background. This is indicative of a lot of the thinking that we have today. And when you look at the speakers and the participants, you know, a lot of this reminds us of a lot of what we've been doing over the years. And I'll begin with a few of the flyers. I know some of you might remember this. Oh Allah, free my father. Yeah, this is one of the flyers that we had passed out. This was in the late 90s, like 98 or 99. It probably was 99, 98. I can tell by what this is about. The Effective Death Penalty Act and Counterterrorism Bill of 1996 allows the U.S. to harass and detain Muslims without due process, imprison and detain Muslims based on secret evidence, tap phone lines violating privacy rights, detain Muslims on the basis of guilt by association. In other words, there's somebody doing something the government don't like, and you just happen to hang around with them, or visit with them, or even have seen them, or been in the area with them. Eliminate rights of Muslims to give any form of aid to terrorist countries, even if it is in the form of food. We had a lot of articles on this. Some of our first articles was dealing with these subjects. And up until 1993, we were wondering, trying to measure and reason with the idea of what form the attack of the United States will take on us. After the World Trade Center in 1993, it was clear. That is the response of all of this, not 911. See, by 911, we was already on the road. We'd already walked out the door, and we'd come up with articles right away, how to think and act and believe after 9/11. You know, so it wasn't no surprise to us. In stages of growth in the Islamic movement, we say in both of them, in number one and number two, part one and part two, we say that a state of war exists between the United States of Kufr and the Muslim Ummah. That a state of war exists. That one was probably 98. So all of our As-Sabiqun newsletters had already opened the door to all of this. So when 9/11 happened, it was a shock to everybody else, but it wasn't no shock to us, because we went on a program right over there on Channel 32 Howard with Kojo Nambi. It was Hadari, it was Muhammad Al-Asi, and it was myself. But we were saying clearly that was a setup. The World Trade Center in 1993 was a setup. It was a setup to undo all the progress that the Muslims had made up to that time. And if you remember, this brother Syed Nosair in Brooklyn, that had he had shot Maya Kahani, you know, and he went to prison. But the jury was so aware, they gave him some minor little sentence. You know, he went to prison for a minute, but it wasn't for, like, he was guilty of that. They found him guilty of some, after 1993 though, that they came back and picked up everybody. So they took him to trial again and charged him with another count, and he was sent, they extended his sentence. All the guys that was involved in this World Trade Center type thing was said to be living in an apartment. It was rented, no, they was renting it from a lady called Jose Hadas. Soon as this happened, she got on a plane and went back to Israel. You know, all of this stuff wasn't nobody paying no attention to. We still have a whole list of misfit, but we saw what was coming. All of these demonstration and rallies, stand up for justice, stand against state terrorism aimed at the Muslims, villainization of Muslims and Islam, Anti-Terrorism Act, assault on the upon civil liberties. Then secret evidence. We have Secretary of State and Religion, you know, because they say there's a separation in the U.S. supposedly between church and state. But we're calling it, because of the rules and guidelines that they had already put in place by 1999, we're calling him Secretary of State and Religion. And we're saying, down with constitutional dictatorship. Of course we have a constitution, but we're saying what it really is. By now, everybody knows that's true. Because back in the old days, remember Mary Stewart, a lawyer that was Sheikh Umar Abdul Rahman, the blind sheikh. Remember, they gave her a case, sent her to prison. Now, what did that do? You can see why all the lawyers, you can see why we can't get no lawyer. Because as soon as they hear what it's about, now think, when y'all call some of the attorneys, during the conversation that they say, just a minute, and they get another call, and after they get that call, their whole thing changed. Skies Grooves, Kiskelham, Mama Gumbo, but whatever it is, ain't nothing happening. Now you gotta remember, all the programs we had with Ibrahim Hooper, and he had Awad, you know, all these pictures show all these, let me see if I can pull them up. In those days, we were demonstrating with everybody. In fact, I can pass them over there. And you can, look, we had demonstrations, I mean, I'm talking about everywhere. I'll pass them to him and he can pass them to y'all to see. But we were dealing with huge demonstrations. In fact, 1993, was that 1993 when we had the Bosnia demonstration down there? Was you coming around? Yeah, because you can't start coming in 92, right? Right. Okay, remember?
That was my first big one.
That was we had people at each station directing people where to go. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were, because remember, it was us and it was Brother Mujahid from Chicago, the Imam Mujahid. Mm-hmm. We was the ones that was working with them. That's 1993. The biggest demonstration they had for Muslims in the United States was that one. They said it was thousands, but it was technically over 50,000. Here we are on stage, everybody dressed in black. As-Sabiqun was on the road. You know what I mean? This is one of our places in LA. As-Sabiqun, Islamic clothing and merchandise. That's right there on Overland. This is a picture here with Muhammad Ali, and we're not going to say what the relationship was, but he was getting around traveling, and him and Rudolph was traveling, and he was raising funds because he was out of money. You can see how young he's still, almost Cassius Clay then. This is the multiplicity of people. You have to remember, in those days we had, at one time, 8 to 10 functioning centers. And all of them were like, these are mixtures of people. In LA, we had the whole show going on. Sisters and brothers and everything. Here's demonstrations right here, right down on the mall. This is when we was working with all that was an interim period between 1993 and 2001. Okay, it was so serious. Here's a guy, David Cole, wrote this book, Terrorism and the Constitution. Do you remember that book? Terrorism and the Constitution. This old guy here was the oldest living guy with his record was older than anybody with this, not the CIA, but who do they call it? Yeah, with the FBI. His file was the oldest. When he got his file from the FBI for Freedom of Information Act, they bought it in boxes. It went back to 44 or something like that. Wow. This is Imam Ahmed Qasim from, he's the oldest guy that was on Robben Island. I mean, the youngest guy on Robben Island with Nelson Mandela. That's Ahmed Qasim right there in the center. Okay. Here's all the stuff. Avoid genocide and all of that. This is on the stage. In fact, here's Dear Nihad Awad right there. He wouldn't answer the door when we was visiting. Here's one of our famous friends. When this brother had a problem with the government in 1990, up in Brooklyn, they're supposed to have had a run-in with drug dealers. The drug dealers was harassing, supposedly, a store owner, a Palestinian store owner. So they raised a big crew, and everybody, we all from here, went up to support them. That's in 1990. We was only here a year by then. So we supported our dear Imam. Israeli repression, This is when the Masjid was dark. But this is Masjid al-Islam. This is a mixture of us and our crew in Oakland. Yeah, this is a nice picture of all the brothers. This is a picture of our first conference. And it just so happens that all the brothers from LA, they was doing wrestling and all that. You can see that all of those are immigrants from LA. All of those are immigrants. This is another mixture when we go on to a demonstration there. This is our brothers there. This is our brothers at a big demonstration in San Francisco at the City Hall. Looks like Abdul Rahman standing sutra there. This is Dear Mukhtar. I'm not going to show that right now because that's not what I'm talking. There's Abdul Malik and Mukhtar again. I ain't going to show them. In fact, anybody that don't know what our masjid looked like when we first moved in. That's inside the masjid. Of course, this is outside. Here's Ibrahim Hooper, dear Ibrahim Hooper, and all that. Anyway, here's the point I'm making. The point I'm making is this. At this time, we're a part of the Ummah. Right? We're a major part of the Ummah. We're a functioning part of the Ummah. When Answer and all of them are having some of their meetings, they're having them right here in this masjid, right? In every demonstration, there's no demonstration that they had in that period, especially downtown in D.C., that we didn't participate in. Whether it was Answer, whether it was in conjunction with all the other Muslims, right? Whether it was something that we might have wanted to do individually, we were a major part of the Ummah. So my question is, if that was true in America, in South Africa, where we went many times participating in programs nationwide. I forgot to bring that little booklet, but does anybody remember the little booklet that I brought from South Africa? The booklet with the pictures of all the programs, a graph of how many people I'm speaking to. Okay, we'll show that next week. But the point of this discussion today is, what happened in between all of this and technically us being isolated in the Ummah? How did that happen? This is the question we want to know. How did we get isolated? And then our question is, how can we improve the situation? Remember, we're going to pass this out downtown in April. What can we do? Or even, let's say, what did we do wrong? Remember, you have to study yourself first. Let's just say, what did we do wrong? Right? Of course, we did say about protest, "O Allah, free my father. This may become a familiar scene amongst Muslim families unless we take action." That's what we were saying then. Okay, we were having some results. Because we had a demonstration on this one, San Francisco Civic Center. You probably see some of the pictures. Washington, D.C., Lafayette Park. Los Angeles, Westwood Federal Building. Okay, so the strongest places we are was in the Oakland, San Francisco Bay Area, Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles. We had two big crews in L.A. All the foreigners that you see, those youngsters, that's all the L.A. crew. The As-Sabiqun building was on Overland, and that was the so-called Sunnis. Those pictures you see, the Sunnis and Shias are just rolling together. There's no separation between them. You might have saw a few of the Shia brothers at one of those ISNA programs, 3, 4, 5, time roll. Maybe about 5 or 6 years ago over there. They had started a halal meat or halal jerky company. That's them. They had a halal jerky company. Right. So evidently they was moderating. They had moderated a little bit, and headquarters was closed. Headquarters had, first we got one apartment, then we got the apartment upstairs for the sisters. Then we got 2 apartments down, a big apartment complex. and it was rolling. As-Sabiqun, you saw the building where it says clothing and all of that. That was a big center. That was not quite as big as here, but it was a pretty good sized center. And it was a masjid. It was where they met. It had a big carpet. You know, it was a masjid. But when you walk in the front, it was clothing and books and all that stuff. Then you walk through the screen, and there's the masjid. So it was rolling. Well, what happened? So we're studying to see what mistakes did we make. Maybe it was talking about stand up for justice and the Muslims wanting due process of law. Was it that? Did we make a mistake? Did we misanalyze? Did we say about state terrorism aimed at Muslims, villainization of Muslims? Okay, now the Muslims are talking about Islamophobia. I mean, they have big programs on Islamophobia. Sometimes you can get confused a little bit about the approach. If there's really an open warfare against Islam and Muslims in America, we can sometimes, I don't know, may not. Well, we should discuss approaches. How should we deal with this? Since all the Muslims are under attack, then all the Muslims should discuss their approaches. Now, I'm not going to show a lot of this stuff that deals with me personally because it's not. But here is revolution from Egypt to the Americas, right? Now, it's about this time when things start drifting, going downhill as far as the Ummah. Oakland and American Road, Imam Jamil Al-Amin. Imam Luqman martyred. They thought Frankie, was that the dog's name? Remember the dog, Frankie, was more important than the human being.
That's right.
And then they have me here. It's no big deal. I'm not even gonna, I swore I wasn't gonna, I'm not gonna show him. I'll show him another time. But here's a picture of my son, shot and 6 times. That's not the point today. The point today is how do we reach some conclusion? Now, the Quran, when it talks about believers, it says, kind words and the covering of faults is better than charity followed by injury. Allah is free of all wants, and He is most forbearing. So, kindness